So today we are going to do a flower arrangement and a tutorial on how to arrange flowers. So this is something that I learned in my flower farming business. I was initially absolutely terrible at it. And it was something that I actually learned through a friend who worked at a flower shop, and I took a lot of online classes, and it's just something that I love doing. It's something that adds to a dining table full of friends. It just makes the occasion more special and beautiful. And so I just love making them whenever I can and whenever I have flowers in the garden. It just makes my house look cute and cozy and warm and all that good stuff. All right, so this morning I went to the flower market and I got a bunch of flowers. And so I think that one thing that I should say is, if you go to the flower market to get flowers, one of the things you want to do is get different shapes of flowers. So like, for example, this flower right here, this is a dahlia. It's like a tight puff palm. It's like a ball type shape, and that's awesome. But I think that having contrasting shapes really adds to an arrangement. So like here, for instance, not all of these actually aren't in the best shape. We probably won't use them, but this is a Cosmo, and it has like a circle in the middle and petals coming out, and so it just has a different shape. It's not quite as full. And then we have also some roses. These are actually from my garden, and it just has a more flouncy, romantic, soft feel, where this is Orlea. It has a little bit of a light and airy feel to it. And so so if you use all of the same texture of flowers or the same form of flowers, you don't really have anything to compare the flower to, and so it doesn't make it look special. So this, just for example, this tight ball, these two are kind of the opposite of each other. This is like a tight, neat ball that is like geometrically amazing, and this is sort of loose and airy, and together they just offset each other's beauty. They make each other look more beautiful because it highlights the strongest characteristics of the other one. And another little tip when you're choosing flowers is that is to get some flowers that have more than one color in them, because those are great for blending colors. So like, for instance, this flower right here, this rose is kind of all one color. But if you take this flower right here, whoops, I'm kind of gonna make a mess out of this, but that's fine. If you take this flower, you can see that it has lighter pink, it has purple in it, it maybe even has a little bit of yellow and green in it. And so if you needed to blend two colors together, this would be, this flower would just make two things next to each other look seamless. This is another example of a flower that has a little bit of yellow in it as well. And so it just would be, here, there we go. It's just, this one picks up colors, this one picks up colors from this one and colors from this one. And so it just makes things blend and makes them look more smooth and beautiful. Another little tip, if you're picking out flowers from the flower market, is that you're gonna want to have at least 1 to 3 focal flowers. So this is like the biggest, most beautiful flower I had. This came from my garden. This is a Cafe au lait dahlia. It's the reason why I began growing dahlias, because I saw a photo of somebody in like garden full of these. The plants get like this high, so it almost looked like a forest of them, and I was like, I can't live without that. So I got a bunch of tubers, which is how these grow, planted them in the ground, and now I have my own. And this is actually a much smaller one because they get sometimes to be like this big, like they're dinner plate dahlias, so they can get enormous. So this is a great focal flower, and something that has a center, which this one doesn't have as much of, but something with a center that opens, that's a great idea for a focal flower. And so just having 3 to 5 of those is just a great way to sort of direct where someone's eye goes to in your flower arrangement. They have somewhere to look that's like the center. Yeah, so if you think of it like as like a face, your hair is sort of like the other flower is smaller, your earrings are like the little balls and decorations, and then like this is the thing to look at in the arrangement. That was a weird way of explaining it, but I hope you understand. Okay, so the first thing I do when I do a flower arrangement is that I pull out all of my flowers from the bucket and I process them. And so let me show you what that means. All right, so here is a bunch of dahlias. And this is a great example of a color that has a little bit of pink, a little bit of orange, a little bit of yellow. So they'll be great at blending two different colors together. All right, so by processing the flowers, I will, first I will cut them. I won't be using stems longer than this for the arrangement. And then there's all these leaves here. I'm actually gonna take them off because when I'm choosing flowers, I'm very specific about the color scheme that I want. And often the greens on flowers aren't the color that goes with the color palette that I'm using. Also, any foliage or greens that's below here that will actually be sitting in the water will make the flowers, it'll make them go bad sooner. It'll make it so they don't last as long. So it's good to get rid of all of that, and I'll explain another reason why later. But I do like to leave little, like if there's like a bud like this or something, I don't know, I just think it adds like a pretty texture. And so, yeah, so I like to leave that. And any flowers that are dead or aren't doing well, then I just get rid of those. Sometimes I like one bud, but not the other. So I think I'll remove this one. Okay. And then I put the flowers where I can see their color so that when I'm arranging, I can look at the colors and see what I want to go right next to each other. So this is a bunch of flowers. Actually, most of these aren't doing the best. I must have bought an old bunch, but this one is doing good, so I'll keep it. And I think this one is salvageable. And this bud I will probably keep, but the rest I'm going to get rid of. I got scammed by the flower market. It's okay, I did keep the flowers outside in a bucket for one day, so, and it's very hot outside, so it's a little bit my own fault. All right. So I'm actually getting rid of all this. I might keep this bud too for a little bit of a textural element, but I may or may not use it. All right, so I just remove all of this. And I'm just gonna go through and continue to do this with all of the flowers. I probably should have mentioned before that I have a little trash can here that I just keep, because arranging flowers is a messy business. You're always cutting off stems or this and that. So it's nice to always have a trash can or a trash bag there. Okay, so the next thing I actually do is I arrange the flowers by color, so that I sort of arrange how they're going to be in the vase. And I sort of try to get them to blend one color to another. And sometimes I keep it that way, and sometimes I don't. So, but I just like to do it, and I like to have everything set out in front of me so that I can see what I'm working with. So these are some of the tallest stems, and because the arrangement, I sort of usually start with the tallest stems. I think I'm gonna put these on this side. Okay, so I've kind of arranged things. I have all the greenery and whites and greens over here. I have some honeysuckle from my garden too. And these are just kind of going to be filler. But so I sort of have a blending going on. I don't know if you can see, but it's ones that sort of go smoothly from one color to the next. This is somewhere in between. Then it will go to this color. Then it will go to this color, and then we have all of these pretty yellows. So that's good for now. We'll see how it turns out. All right, so here we have, I'm just gonna part these a little bit. So what I use to arrange is I have a Lazy Susan, which is good because it spins, and I can easily move the vase around like that so I can see the arrangement from all angles. I have this little vase, and then what I actually use to hold the flowers in place is chicken wire, and I reuse it. So you can see this is a ball of chicken wire. It has some old like petals in it and stuff, just because I reuse it. And you sort of shape it into a ball that is hollow in the center, but you essentially want the flowers to be able to go through the top and then hold in the bottom. So it actually will hold in place when you put it in a position. That's kind of the goal of that. And that's one of the reasons why you also take off all of the lower foliage here, so that you can, so if you put a flower in the wrong place, you can actually take it back out and put it back in. All right, so I'm just gonna put this inside the vase, and you want it to like be where it doesn't like fall out. It's like kind of, it pushes against the edges. There's almost like tension. So you want to use enough chicken wire where it's like it won't actually move around. All right, and now I'm going to put water in here. I just think it's really important to keep flowers hydrated at all times, especially if it's like hot in my house right now. I don't have an air conditioner, and so any moment they're out of water is just a moment they're going to be a little wilty. So, all right, this is all filled up. So when I do an arrangement, I'm actually looking, it's sort of like when you do an arrangement, you're sort of looking to do a shape that is going to interest the eye of the beholder and sort of take them on a little journey. So it's like they start here, just say they start here with a, like a honeysuckle, and it has this beautiful curve and color. And so it's almost like your eye goes here and leads to something else. And so that's why some of these crooked natural stems are the most beautiful to use, because they just sort of make it look romantic and like a little story. And so there's a shape that I almost always use for my flower arrangements, and it's high on one end and then it goes low on the other end. So it's almost like a crescent moon, like this, coming out of the flower arrangement. That's what I go for. That's my favorite shape. It gives enough negative space right here in the middle where you can highlight different flowers without it becoming overly crowded where they're all together in one place. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and start placing some of these. And I'll turn it around every couple minutes, but I don't think I can do it backwards for you to see. So I'm just starting off at my highest point here. And so I think I'll actually use some of this to get a higher point in there. All right, that's nice and high, and we are going to, like this flower is a little bit wilty at the moment, but it will perk up once it's back in water. All right, so here's how it looks for now, right now. So we're building this side up, and then we're gonna go down here. So one important part of flower arranging is that flowers often work in three, and it just, for some reason, they just look better that way. I don't know, 3s and 5s, odd numbers, and they almost are like a little collection together, but you never want them to be at the same plane, meaning this one is sticking out a little higher than this one and this one, but the eye will follow them as if they're just like a little vignette or collection. So just don't put them the same distance from the pot. Make sure that varies a little bit. And I think it's really nice when you have one flower pointing forward so you can see the center of it, one pointing sideways, and maybe another view of the other one. It just makes it look more natural rather than all the little faces pointing right at you. It just gives a more natural look and a more like garden-esque fairy tale type of look, which I personally love. Okay, so now I am going to place my focal flower, and I'm going to place it right about here, and it just will flow down, but you also want something to cover the lip of the vase. And so I will let's see how this goes. Okay, so I won't use this one to cover the lip, but it is right, whoopsie. So it turns, but the more I add to the arrangement, the more stable it will become. But so people's eyes will go from here down to there and continue down here. These roses are really good to use as focal flowers just because they're so big and flouncy. And yeah, and ones with short stems, these are great ways to cover the lip of the vase so that it almost looks like the flowers are floating in a way. Ooh, this is a nice tall one. So if flowers have a shorter stem, those are just ideal to use for covering the lip. I may have already said that, but I'm going to use this one here. Okay. All right, now I am going to move on to this color. Now, in a weird way, so this I would normally use it to blend, but there is something going on here where this one looks muted next to these, but this one stands out because it is the same tone as this bright pink, and so it like actually contrasts it and makes it pop. So I'm actually going to do this color next to it and then this color next to this one, so so that things are all blending together. I only have a couple of these, so hopefully I can use them wisely. All right. Okay. Okay, so we put the orange ones in. Actually, I'll use this one, so it's nice. We'll have a little trio of orange here. I'm just always moving them around to see what looks good, etc. To see where I need more flowers and all that. Okay, that's what we have so far. Now we're going to use some of these pretties. I'm going to use the most beautiful ones in the front. And I'm going to use a few of these so I can make the final shape of the arrangement. Okay, so this is the shape of the arrangement, but I will need to fill in the area around the yellow flower. But so it kind of goes up like this and trails off down here. And so it's good to have some flowers that are close to the base of the arrangement, but having different planes, having some stick out at you, having some stay in, it just creates a flow of where your eyes look. It makes it more interesting and more exciting. It makes it like a little party for your eyes. All right. All right, and this one is a little bit bent, so it's a perfect one to put on the lip. Actually, it's a little too bent. Use this one. All right. And so my goal here with the yellow flowers is to make it so you don't just see this stem here only. You have this bloom which covers the stem of this bloom. And so it just looks like cascading beautiful flowers. All right, so we mostly have the shape of the flowers done here, where it sort of blends from one color into the next, starts off high and goes down low. I might just fill in any holes or any place where I don't feel like it flows well. Like I might add one of this color up here just to make the whole thing blend, and there's kind of a gap between a bloom and greenery that looks kind of like a hole in flowers. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put it there, and I think it looks really pretty. Okay, good. All right. And so now I have the whole back area here where you guys can see that's kind of empty. So I am going to use this filler. But I don't know if you can see the shape because it seems like a very plain flower, which it is, but the shape of it and the little leaves on it, it's just so beautiful and wild that it just adds so much to an arrangement. It also gives it dimension, like it gives it, so it's not just linear, it makes it so it's like very whimsical and it looks like a garden rather than just a bunch of straight stems. So if I can keep a branch together like this one, I specifically look for the flowers being on different planes. If I can keep it together, then I will, rather than breaking off smaller pieces, because nature has a way of naturally making its branches be beautiful in pairs and on different planes. So I will try to keep some of those branches together, and yeah, that worked out beautifully. So I will just use some over here to fill in shape a little more. Oops. And so I'm just filling in this shape down here with the yellow flowers so that it's not just big flouncy bloom, big flouncy bloom, big flouncy bloom. It has a little bit of texture between it that covers the branches, or sorry, the stems, and just makes it look more full, but also more varied, because that's what makes it look so beautiful. And it's actually a great way to create some dimension, like have some that come out like this, that draw your attention in. So not only is your eye wandering up, or starting up and moving to the center and moving out, but it's also moving in and out. So it's kind of like, if you think of it as like a little roller coaster for your eyes, then, and a little journey, a little story that it goes on. That's a really easy way to think of it, or that's how I like to think of it. And so on this area where we started, I just want to add some places where the blooms actually, or where the texture actually pops out. Okay. So you see how, oops, that one is covering the focal flower. So I like that it pops out from, but I don't need it to cover it. So just kind of adjust things as you go. All right, caught stuck in the chicken wire. I'm gonna pull it. Hopefully it doesn't ruin, okay. All right, well, it's not coming out, so I'm actually just gonna cut it and then use it in the way that I want it, with a shorter stem. Yes, perfect. Okay, here we go. All right. So I'm just gonna fill in the back a little bit here so that if someone sees the arrangement from the back, it doesn't look empty and horrible, because you want to cover the mechanics. You don't want people to see the chicken wire for obvious reasons. It's not cute, and it's not part of the vibe you're going for. So I will just cover that up. Use some of this greenery. I'll even use a flower, because why not? Let's see how that looks from the front. I'm gonna make this one lower. There we go. All right. That does not look as good as I thought it would. And roses are hard ones because they have thorns, so they really like to get stuck on that chicken wire. they can be pretty unforgiving. All right, let's see how that looks from the front. Actually, I think that looks nice. I might put it a little bit over because I want to maintain a little bit of negative space right here to show off the crescent shape that we're going for. Okay, I like that. Okay, and I'll fill in the back here a little bit more. These are just so pretty. I love them. I just want to make sure whatever I'm filling the back in with does not take away from anything that I've done in the front. Okay, I'm going to use this guy. Okay, a few more here in the back. All right, guys, I think that's good enough for the back. Okay, so if these flowers did not get too bent, which I don't think that they did, these little guys, they're once again just little airy textural ones. This is called tick seed, which is potentially a bad name, but it goes well with this orange flower here. And it's just nice to have, okay, well, let me see how it looks. All right, not as great as I thought. So I will put these down closer to the orange color to pick up on that and sort of blend it throughout the arrangement. And maybe I'll even put them down here by the yellow to pull everything together. But I will cut off some of these ones that are not alive anymore. But actually kind of, even though the little balls are little buds, they're actually expired flowers, it's still, you can't tell, and it gives sort of, like the little balls floating kind of give it an airy feel that I actually like with a little pop of color. So there we go. And I was going to use those for the negative space right here, but I actually think that I will use this Cosmo if it will stay up. Just sometimes kind of tricky. All right, that did not work for the negative space, but I do think that just adding these cosmos over here just adds another shape of flower to the arrangement. And it just gives it dimension and variety. And just a couple is perfectly good. And it just gives it a natural, whimsical look, which I know I've said those words a million times, and that's what I'm going for. So here's another one. So you can see those cosmos, and the yellow in the center kind of picks up on the yellow down here. Yeah, so I'm just going to maybe do a little bit more filler in the middle here. I just see one little empty spot. Actually, this would be a great way to sort of make a little statement in this negative space right here. Let me see how that looks. It's all trial and error. You try one thing, it works or it doesn't, and then you try another thing. So I actually don't like this negative space. I actually think that we should just leave the negative space, because this one is kind of showing itself off in a way up here. And so I think we just leave that empty. But occasionally, if you have like a gorgeous curling stem that is like maybe different and sets itself off from the other flowers, then that's a great place to use it. Even if it's like right here sticking out, that would be perfect. But it doesn't set itself apart enough to do that. I think I'm actually gonna go look in the garden to see if I have anything that does do that. All right, I'm really excited because I found these 2 stems of Scabiosa in the garden. They're just this really pretty purpley blue color, and they actually will bring a lot of these colors in here together. But I'll probably just use one of the stems. So I'm going to place it right here in the center and have it be sticking out like that, so that the arrangement comes at you here. You can maybe see it a little bit better. And it just sort of, I don't know, makes the arrangement look more dynamic. It's like a little color pop, and I love it. All right, guys, this is it. How pretty is that? I love it, and I love using some things from the garden, some things from the flower market, some things that I steal from people's gardens when I go on my walk. I cut flowers and then I run. I hope nobody minds. I wouldn't mind if people did that in my garden. But I love it. It's just like a fairy tale, flouncy garden. It just looks magical to me. And this is the kind of thing I want in my house, and just brings me joy every day, and just adds so much to my life. And I hope it can add to your life as well. And you can even do this with like those crappy spray painted, well, not spray painted, but the crappy grocery store flowers that maybe your husband brings to you and you don't love them. You can just rearrange them in something like this. I know you probably won't have this many flowers, but you can get some more from the market. You can just forage around your house, just get some branches. You can do so much with greenery. It's about the colors, but it's also so much about the textures. So maybe in the future we'll do some arrangements with just greenery, with just the structure of the stems, because there's just so much beauty in that, and things that just highlight that beauty. I mean, just even an arrangement with just these would just be so beautiful. All right, we did good work. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I had a great time. I'm excited to do much more of this lifestyle type content because it's what I love, and it's how I create a happy life for myself. And I hope you enjoy.